Good evening, welcome everyone and all to AER2 round number 8 and to the Singapore Grand Prix then we have on round number 8 on the agenda. So, yeah, round number 8 obviously, then today, obvious, with that in mind. Let me just make sure the stream is up and running. That's obviously very important. Yep, good. So, welcome, obviously, to round number 8 for the Singapore Grand Prix. I'm not sure what grid order is going to be precise, but we will soon find out. We do have a sprint, so I'm not sure what the sprint order, I should say, is going to be. The grid order will be the finishing order from the sprint. So, yeah. Nonetheless, just a recap on the last 2 rounds. Austria and China. I believe it was Austria and China. The last 2 races. But nonetheless, obviously, well, pretty dominant style victories for Toby. And can he make it 3 in a row? So far, every Grand Prix he has actually participated in so far this season in AER, he has actually gone on to the victory. So that is, of course, a very good omen for Toby in terms of chasing 3 victories in a row, considering he's won 3 so far events that he's all turned up to. So, yeah, he's certainly been a star of the show. You could most definitely conclude. In terms of obviously, for obviously the championship, Fisher's currently, I believe, leads the championship still. We haven't had any championship standings update, so I'm not really sure if there's been any sort of actual change in terms of standings, but we will find out, I'm pretty sure, sooner rather than later. However, I would probably say Toby's 2 wins in a row probably puts him in good stead, at least at 70 points, I believe, or something to this equation. Plus, he's already got 35 points on board. Anyway, here we go then. Formation lap then. So this is your grid for today. So it's Bexham Boy who is going to start on pole. Then it's Malikar, Mr. Great in third. Fourth is then Mr. Siders, F1 Siders, or Cinders. Then it's Kurt Maestro in 5th. 6th is Falcao. 7th is Lewis. Then 8th is Mr. Formula 1, followed by Fishers in 9th. 10th we have Phil. Then 11th it's Mini Platz. Then in 12th it's Benji Bucket. 13th we have then obviously Tyler. 14th is going to be Toby. He's certainly going to have to work his way through the field from there. And then down at the back of the grid, we have 15th, obviously, Archie. So, yeah, well, all the 3, I suppose, main championship contenders are here tonight. Obviously, Toby, Fishers, and Mr. Formula 1. I think those 3 have to be, at the moment, considered the 3 favourites. Let's see what tyres everyone is on. So everyone is on the same compound, mediums. No one opting to go for the softs, intriguingly. So softs are not considered clearly the tyre to be on at the moment here. So everyone else going for the mediums. In terms of pit stop strategy in a sprint, obviously you don't want to be making any stops. If you are coming in for a stop, usually the only time you'd be doing so is either under the safety car, or if you obviously have broken a part of your front wing and the damage is too much to live with. So you're definitely not going to be making a strategic stop, that's for sure. So nonetheless, Bexham Boy now starting to come back round to the grid as he reforms the grid then here. taking his place, then he will on to pole position and lining up then for the Singapore Grand Prix. Not sure if he's ever started from pole, who knows. Certainly not whilst I've commentated, he hasn't, but nonetheless, let's see if he can get a clean getaway and defend that lead down into turn 1. Of course, it is a short run down to the line, or down to the first corner, not the longest run on the Formula 1 grid, so you're not going to be given much of a slipstream, so it's all about the launch, really. Anyway, it's eyes to the lights, 5 lights are on, and we're underway racing in Singapore. So it's a good start by Bexenboy, who's managed to get away well, followed by Malik Khan. Malik Khan, though, goes down the inside and takes the position very cleanly, actually. Almost for a second, I thought he weren't going to do that so cleanly, but he's been knocked around by, I believe that was Kurt Maestro, who right now is up into second, and a bit of wing damage also for Mr. Gray there, who's currently in third. So both Aston Martins managing to hold their positions despite the damage. However, down the inside we have a look, and there's more contact. Mr. Gray's been spun around and he's off the track. Bexenboy then is also down a few positions now, and it's all just suddenly gone a bit very messy all of a sudden. Then between the drivers, Fishers, though, is up into third, so he's already chasing down the 2 leaders for then the first place in the order. And, well, Toby hasn't made much progress up the order so far, only up into 12th. Of course, probably taking a bit steadily from the back of the grid, especially given doesn't want to probably get any damage. And that's the worst thing you can do, is get damage and get your car, well, injured or whatever. And yeah, the best thing you can do, just like we see Fishers going down the inside here, going to have to go a long way around. Can he do that? Yes, he does. And Fishers now up into second, just behind Kurt Maestro, who is your race leader as we cross the lap for the first time here in the sprint. So Kurt Maestro leads from Fishers, from Lewis, then it's Falcao. Then it's Tyler, followed by Mini Platts and Phil in 7th. So that's your top 7 then in this race, with obviously Fishers trying to hunt down the Williams driver for what is, of course, first place in the race. Falcao just having a look behind the Red Bull, darting out. Red Bull does have a bit of wing damage to the front right end plate, and that for sure not going to be helping the Red Bull driver, at least in the corners. Down the straight, though, might be giving him a little bit of extra straight line speed, which certainly could potentially help defend. Of course, this track is obviously, though, all about the corners. However, the straights, there are a few of them, and, well, they're not particularly long. They're a bit like Monaco, I suppose, to that essence. Before you get to the end of the straight, you've obviously ran out of straight. However, overtaking is very much possible here, unlike Monaco. So, yeah, certainly you can do it, at least in the game. Maybe not so much in real life. It's a little bit more challenging. So, lap then 2 complete. Kurt Maestro still leading the Grand Prix and has extended his advantage now to 1.2 seconds at the front of the grid. Still, though, the battle for then at least third, that final podium spot, is between Lewis and Falcao, as Toby is starting to now be bringing himself into play here, as we can see the McLaren driver down in 8th, catch up to the back of Phil, and here we go then. Falcao going with the DRS around the outside, manages to get the move done very cleanly and neatly there, and also very brave to take the outside line instead of the inside line, which would have been obviously the easier choice potentially then. So that's Falcao up into 3rd place behind Fishers, and I'll tell you what, Falcao's looking very good. Fishers' pace, I'm not suggesting has been weak, but it's not exactly been necessarily what I've expected to come from him. I would have at least, maybe if we would have cleared the Williams by now, just taken him a few laps even to get onto the tail end of that Williams driver of Kurt Maestro. So, we'll have to see, obviously, how this battle now unfolds, which effectively is, well, you could say, a 8-car train for the race lead at the moment. That is the current situation. Currently 4.3 seconds separating the leaders, and now obviously Fisher's within the DRS. So how does Kurt Maestro defend against Fisher's? Of course, out of turn 4, going to be the crucial corner for the both of them. Then who's going to get the better exit? Let's see. Kurt Maestro, I think, is going to not be able to defend this one off, because Fisher's was just close enough at the exit was 4, and in the end, DRS making the pass very easy for the Ferrari driver, moving himself now up into the lead, and he is your championship leader. Toby, meanwhile, has also managed to find a way past Phil then for 7th place, as we will quickly monitor his progress. He has won the last 2 Grand Prix in a row. Taps the Volvo there. Don't want to do that too many times, because he certainly will be potentially running the risk of picking up some front wing damage on that McLaren. Looks like they got away with it there, just brushing the wall with his tyres, and that certainly won't do too much harm in terms of anything. But for Toby, I just feel this probably race is about trying to get high up the order as possible and to make back some of those positions, as we see then Lewis into the pits, and I presume that's due to the wing damage. So he's just felt it's too much to live with. However, where will he come out? That's going to be the interesting now thing to see here, because of course he is going for a new front wing, but is fitting the softs. He's going to come out pretty far down the order by the looks of it, so looks like he's going to at least come out long way behind Bexon Boy and Mr. Formula 1. Now, can he make those positions up? I'm not entirely convinced. Could he have lived with the damage? Yes, I think he could have. And I think would have been wiser to do so. So, that has promoted Tyler up into 3rd. It's allowed Kurt Maestro obviously still remain in 2nd, even though that was non-affected. Falcao's actually down to 6th here now, so Toby's managed to find his way up into the top 5 in this race. So he's certainly coming through the field very, very nicely. Now, for Fishers, now does he play a bit of a tactical game here and try and not sprint off into the distance, due to the fact that's probably only going to help Toby come through the field if he does do that, as we might see a pass for 5th place? No, we're not. So Kurt Maestro is keeping within the DRS range of Fishers. Fishers hasn't exactly waltzed off into the distance, and obviously that is obviously allowing Kurt Maestro to keep within the DRS, also help him with the defence against Tyler. I'm just curious to see, obviously, whether or not this is a bit of a tactic from Fishers to maybe do this, because I'm just thinking here, if he can put a DRS train effectively between himself and obviously Toby, which I get the feeling Toby's going to probably get past Mini a bit sooner rather than later, as he is now within the DRS of Mini. So Mini Plat's probably looking to lose that position. However, having said that, Fisher's just picked up a 3-second time penalty, so that's not ideal for the Ferrari man out front, because that potentially could see him drop certainly behind the McLaren and also behind Kurt Maestro and Tyler. In fact, could even see him drop off the podium completely. So, lap then 7 of 11 as we race on to the 7th lap of this race. Still the top 8 pretty much, top 7 almost unchanged in terms of, well, since lap at least 4. Feel right now though dropping a little bit off the back of this grouping, and there we go. That's Toby down the inside. However, Mini's going to come back at him on the exit. Mini, though, is still there on the outside. Both leave each other enough room. Very respectful in their battle. But Toby waltzes around the outside, takes the position away from Mini Platts. And look in the background, because Falcao's going to try and come down the inside. But it's not going to work there into the Singapore sling. And Mini Platts manages to hold on and remains ahead of his rival. So now for Toby, obviously his job is to try and obviously get within that 3 seconds of then the cars ahead of him. Also try and, waltz away from Mini and try and obviously don't let Mini Platts have a response in return. So it's very important he breaks the DRS then here within the next maybe half a lap or so. Kurt Maestro's made a bit of an error then here, which is going to obviously allow then Toby potentially the chance to get up already into the podium spot. However, this mistake, obviously, that Kurt Maestro has made, has also potentially sort of going to delay potentially Toby's chances or chance of getting within that 3 seconds. Right now he's 4.0 behind. So he would probably want Kurt Maestro to sort of just make sure he's gaining consistently on the cars ahead. Pretty sure that is exactly what he'd want, as Cinders, I think, has put it into the barriers, or is it Malikan? It's Malikan. So Malikan down at which corner that is. I think it's turn 20. Has made a mistake, and yet that's a huge mistake for Malikan. Front wing gone completely. And unfortunately for the RB team, that is going to be a very disappointing result then there, because they will be starting, well, 14th and 15th it looks like in the next race. So can Tyler get past obviously Fishers? Obviously will do so anyway due to the time penalty that Fishers has got. However, can he get past on the track then here, as we focus on then who's going to win this Singapore Sprint Grand Prix? A Tyler started also at the back, actually. I believe started, wasn't it somewhere like 13th or something? So pretty far down the pecking order. And of course, looking very probable for a sprint victory here then. Has Toby found a way through Kurt Maestro? Not yet, no. So that is good news for Fishers. Every single lap, obviously, that Kurt Maestro can keep Toby behind, the better Fishers' chances are in terms of at least remaining ahead of Toby. And also good news for, of course, Kurt Maestro as well, and for a Tyler. So Tyler, obviously, looking the likely candidate to win this race. At the moment, you'd have to say he is the winner-elect, or whatever you want to say. As in, he is certainly on course to take the victory here, with 2 laps to go. As you can see, Fisher's all getting loose through that final corner. Really getting the car sliding out on him. So Fisher's closer to Tyler. Kurt Maestro also very close to being overtaken by Toby. So I think Toby is going to get the job done this lap, which gives him 2 laps to get within, obviously, that 3 seconds. So here goes Toby down the inside. Now, obviously, that's a crucial move for Toby. As Fishers is out of the Grand Prix. Fishers is out then. So Fishers has crashed out on the exit there, and he's going to then start last in the main feature race. So Toby is going to be on the podium. That surely's given Tyler the victory ahead of Toby. So can we see any more surprises? What has Mini Platt's got to say? As he looks like he's just still hanging on in there. In fourth, big snap though on the exit there for the Haas driver, and that would have certainly been a bit of a heart in mouth moment. So what can obviously this podium look like? Still up for grabs. Even Kurt Meister hasn't really been dropped by the McLaren, and that is obviously bad news for Toby, because there is a potential of second becoming third, even fourth even here, if he's not careful enough. We'll have to wait and see. Toby does have a lot of battery pack though, so I imagine all of them going to be using everything in deployment now. Will Toby defend the inside? Doesn't really need to. By the time they get into the braking zone, is quite quite clear. And also Mini Platt's coming under pressure then here from Falcao. Falcao potentially, is he going to go around the outside of Mini Platt? Yes, he is. And Mini's also picked up a time penalty, so probably also now going to drop, especially as it's late on in the day, behind Ferrari of Phil. And another wobble there, literally for Mini, just a few moments, and those few moments are critical. So we're going to see then A. Tyler, or are we? Are we going to see A. Tyler win? Because he's just picked up a 3-second time penalty, and these final few corners are going to be absolutely crucial. So A. Tyler's certainly going to round and take the flag first, but is he going to take the victory? I'm not entirely sure. He crosses the line in first place. Is Toby going to win? No, misses out by 78 hundredths. And it's Kurt Maestro third, fourth is Falcao, fifth is Phil, then sixth is Mini Platt, seventh is going to be Mr. Formula One, ahead of one of his crucial championship rivals who's crashed out. Lewis is then going to take home in seventh. Obviously, that front wing damage, very costly. And comes across then the line in seventh place. Bexon Boy and Benji Bucket crosses the line then. Benji Bucket manages to get ahead of Bexon Boy, as we see Archie with a bit of a spin at the final corner and loses his front wing, but I believe, has he crossed the line? Or no, he's coming across it in reverse now. And finally crosses the line then there. And that is the sprint concluded. So that's then your grid order, and I'll go through it in a very short while. A decent Grand Prix. A very good drive by, obviously, Toby. Almost late drama with that penalty that, obviously, Tyler had. So that certainly could have changed things. So here's the grid then for the main race. Tyler in first, then Toby second. Kurt Maestro in third, followed by Falcao in fourth. Phil will take fifth from Mini Platt. Then it will be, obviously, Mr. Formula One in seventh, followed by Lewis eighth, Benji Bucket ninth, and Bexon Boy in 10th. Outside the top 10, we have Archie, F1 Cinders, then it's Mr. Gray, then it's I Fishers, and then Mali Khan in then 15th. So that is going to be the grid order for the Singapore Grand Prix. And, of course, we've got, I believe, a 35 lap race then coming up, and hopefully a very exciting race between everyone out there. However, I do fear that Toby probably took it a little bit easy in the sprint. Maybe, I feel like probably going to see a bit more pace now from Toby, given he's back to his usual territory, being at the front. Of course, didn't win the sprint, but Did he need to? I feel like his job was finishing at least on the podium or finishing in the top two. I don't feel like the win would have been part of his objective there, at least, or at least that's my thinking. Oh, what's happened? So I believe we're gonna have to restart. So yeah, we are gonna be restarting then there. And probably going to then be a small pause, at least for now, as everyone does get, well, restarted. So, yeah, takeout award probably goes to, give it to Bexham Boy. Even though, does Bexham Boy know we are retiring? He does now. So, yeah. Safety car deployed, unsurprisingly. Probably should be a red flag, really. Hopefully Falcao and Mr. Formula 1 have got the memo, because they are still driving around, which obviously they should have the memo, but we are restarting, I believe, and they do now. Cool. Right, so not sure what to do. Presume once everyone readies up or whatever in the thing, it will just take me back to the lobby. That's going to be my presumption. So yeah, the order is going to be then reset based on the sprint race result, and we've got a 31 then lap race to come your way. And once we've done the 31 lap race, then well, that'll be round 8 complete. So looks like we are then readying up once more, and obviously now time for the main action, or the main race, of course. So, back then to the Singapore race. Obviously, it is Tyler and Toby, your front row. Then, I believe it's Kurt Maestro, and obviously Falcao in third and fourth, followed by Phil and Minnie in fifth and sixth. So, that is your top six at least. Not sure if formation lap is on or off. I think it'll be on. So, yeah, we'll get another at least formation lap. Then here. So, not sure when we are due to go. Believe we might be going now, actually. So, yeah. So here we go then. Formation lap underway, with Tyler leading the pack, from Toby, from Kurt Maestro, from Falcao, and then Phil, as I said, in fifth. Further down the order, then we got Mr. Formula 1 Lewis, Benji, Bucket, and Bexon Boy in 10th. Outside the top 10, we've got Archie, Cinders, then Gray and Fishers at 14th, and then Malik Khan in 15th. So those are your order. Right, time to do the helmet review. I guess. Let's see who's winning it this week. So this week I am going to give it to, I think I'm going to give it to Tyler again. I think Tyler won it last week too. This week he's got a different one. I believe last week he had a Max Verstappen helmet, and I presume that's the Lando Norris Hungarian helmet from obviously the Hungary Grand Prix weekend, which was supposed to be a replica of the trophy design which you see in Hungary. Lovely design it is, actually, to be fair. I believe that's what it's supposed to be. I could be wrong in that. I would like to see a better angle of it, actually, if I could. Doesn't matter too much, of course. In the end, a helmet is a helmet, but yeah. He gets the Helmet of the Week award, then from the commentator, myself. Well done to himself, obviously. Sadly, not a lot of variation, obviously, in this year's game when it comes to helmets. It seems to be an area of the game getting worse and worse, unfortunately, in terms of the variations of helmets and the way you can design them. It just seems to be now one helmet to go with, plus whatever you're lucky to get given throughout the game life or whatever. So, yeah, that's the situation with the current F1 game, unfortunately. Anyway, enough talking about the helmets and on to the race then. So, the grid is now reformed and the lights are beginning to turn on once again. Eyes to the lights. And it's lights out for then the Singapore Grand Prix then, and it's a good start by Tyler, good start by also Toby, who are pulling then immediately away from Kurt Maestro in third. Then fourth is then Phil making up a position. Let's see how he gets on then there, and it's Falcao down one. Then it's Mini Platts holding on to his position ahead of Formula 1. Then it's Lewis in 8th, Archie in 9th, Benji Bucket down 1 in 10th, and it's Fishers up then 3 in obviously 11th from 14th. Bexon Boy dropping down a few positions, Mr. Gray also dropped down 1 or 2, and the two RBs last at the moment at the back of the grid. Also, I believe them drivers are on the hards, so let's quickly check what tyres everyone is on. So, majority of the drivers are on hards. A few have actually opted to go mediums at the start here. So the top two, both on mediums. And also the two drivers behind, obviously Falcao and Mini, also on mediums. Falcao and Mini behind Kurt Meister and Phil, all on mediums too. So let's see how the hard runners do get on here, and whether or not there's going to be a immediate sort of like for like sort of comparison. But Phil struggling a little bit. Falcao goes off the circuit, going to have to give that position back to Ferrari and try and not lose out to Mini, but unfortunately for him, he has lost out to Mini there. So fair play for giving the position back, but of course hard luck in losing 2 positions there in the end on Phil. So Phil's just dropped off from the back of then obviously the top 3 already. Is probably, well, 2.5 seconds behind, but here comes then Falcao looking to go down the inside of Mini, not able to really be confident enough on the brakes, as right now both Falcao and Mini stuck behind the Ferrari driver for now, as Toby's made his way up into the lead. And let's see if he can, well, clear off into the distance, which usually he does. However, does look like Tyler's got a bit of pace, so it could be a challenge, could be a threat during this race. Tyler certainly could be. Nonetheless, still, this is roughly your closest battle on track at the moment, and it's quite a big battle. The battle for right now what is 4th place, and I just get the feeling if Mini and if also Falcao can dispatch obviously Phil, then well, for Phil he will obviously drop a little bit back, but for the obviously the two behind Phil, it will be the world of difference and potentially could make or break their race. This obviously battle could. If they can't get past Phil, I just fear that they are falling very, very quickly out of contention for the podium and also for the race win right now. That's just my gut feeling in terms of for them. So DRS is enabled. Is Mini going to get the position now on lap 4 of the race? He's certainly going to try it around the outside, but Phil later on the brakes and manages to hold on the brakes in the end as they go into the next corner side by side. Phil though going then on the inside, and Mini managing to go the long way round on the outside, but having the inside for the next corner, of course. So Phil now behind Mini, his good friend, and of course on-track rival. So is now Phil gonna be at threat of another overtake by the Alpine. Of course, last time the Alpine and the Ferrari driver came side by side, of Phil and Falcao. Both of them, well, were respectful, but unfortunately for Falcao, it didn't work out, and Falcao gonna try it around the outside again. The long way? Oh no, we've got a virtual safety car. So VSC deployed on lap 3 of the race. Not sure what for exactly. Everyone's still going. Actually, I think I know what for. It's Cinders, isn't it? Who I think unfortunately has crashed out of the Grand Prix. So Cinders' race has come to a rapid end on lap 3 of, well, 31. So the top two separated by only half a second at the moment. They also lead Kurt Maestro by about 2.5 seconds, I'd say. Almost 3. So that is the gap then at the moment between the cars. Right now it's Mini in 4th, followed by Phil 5th. And a very, very close order back down then to about 9th at the moment. So once again, we're back to the racing green, and Mini's got a brilliant restart there, catching Phil a little bit off guard because he's already pulled out almost about a second as Mr. Gray picks up a 3-second time penalty. So very important for then Phil probably to stay within the DRS here. DRS will be enabled immediately. Goes a bit deep though into that corner, into the hairpin after the Anderson Bridge. And of course for Phil that could be a little bit troubling because he's now going to fall a little bit further back into the clutches of then Falcao. So Falcao though in the end not managing to get past, so it looks like Phil's just managing now to hold onto the back of then Mini a little bit better once the tyres have gotten up to heat. But yeah, Mini got a great restart there off the line, you could say, and managed to obviously, well, get away well from the rest of them. Also, shout out to Phil, car number 5. To be fair, I would love if he then win this Grand Prix, be a perfect fit. Singapore, car number 5 takes a 6th win. Obviously, Phil will get what I mean by that. Sebastian Vettel, the German Lou, or whatever they want to call him. You know, the Lion of Singapore, as they say. Not sure though. Phil sadly has got that lion. Well, he's got the lion within him in terms of the spirit of a lion, but sadly not the Lion of Singapore at the moment. 7.7 seconds off the lead So certainly we'll have to try and catch. I'll tell you who is sitting pretty though at the moment. It is Kurt Maestro, currently in obviously third place. He's not really dropped too far off the leaders. Only 4.5 seconds at the moment is that gap. And the two leaders having a bit of a ding-dong battle, you could say. DRS once again enabled for then Toby, as Toby looks to the inside just a little bit, had a little fault, but darts back into the slipstream of then the Haas driver as the McLaren. And I feel like the Haas of Tyler could just be having this battle throughout today's race. Could in the end come down to who can obviously keep it within the track limits and not pick up any time penalties. So yeah, it could just come down to that one simple fact, or it even could come down to choosing where to make your pass in the final few laps of the race. Actually, I'll tell you what, Toby's got a very lovely helmet, given obviously that yellow and purple. Didn't quite see it from the other side, but yeah, he's made it quite nice. As Kurt Maestro has spun, he's in the wall and in the barrier. He keeps the car going, but is going to cost him a lot of positions. He's down to 9th, and has he got wing damage? I'm not sure. We'll stay with Kurt Maestro just for now to see if he's got any sort of wing damage. Archie picks up a 3-second penalty. I believe also Benji Bucket also picked up 3 seconds, and he's in the wall again then there. So definitely got wing damage now if he didn't have any before. And yeah, that is Kurt Maestro then with, well, no front wing at all. So he's certainly making his way back to the pits. Slightly corner cuts there, but keeps out of the way of the Aston Martins. So going to have to be a bit cautious coming into the pit lane there, and that's why. So yeah, Kurt Maestro, what is he going to do? Wouldn't be shocked if he probably chose to retire, and then we go, yep, he has. So Mini Platson takes the podium spot then, as Phil then going to get the DRS back pass, then obviously Mini. And Mini might also lose out 2 positions here, as we see then Falcao going down the inside, trying at least his luck, and can't in the end do that manoeuvre. A bit too much for himself, and Falcao then remains behind Mini. Mini holds off the attack for now. So Mini under a bit of pressure, and he of course, well, was third a few laps ago. Mediums maybe going slightly off for him potentially, maybe he's struggling a little bit with tyre wear, but we've got another yellow flag out there, and I believe that is for Mr. Gray or Bexenboy. It's Bexenboy. Has he kept the car going though? Not entirely sure, we'll find out. Yes, he has. Any wing damage? I don't think he has, so it might have just been a momentarily spin on the track then out there for himself. So top 3 is then Tyler, Toby, then Phil. Phil right now up onto the podium. Only 2 more positions to go then, Phil. Come on, you can do it. But is 8 seconds off the pace at the moment. That is the current story. He is unfortunately quite a considerable distance behind already in this race for himself. And he will, well, if he wants to win this race, need to at least make up 8 seconds somewhere on the 2 leaders, who right now just seem to have the edge, even at this stage on, well, 8 laps of used tyres, still seem to have the better car. For Mini, still actually going along strongly, despite he's been overtaken. He's starting to work his way back towards Phil here, with a bit of DRS assistance at least, so not all doom and gloom for the Haas driver. Looking a very strong contender for the podium. So is of course, Falcao, and so is actually Mr. Formula One, who's looking good. The driver who hasn't made actually much progress here is Fishers. Fishers really hasn't made any sort of impact into this race. I think he has had probably a bit of a moment somewhere along the lap, but yeah, just not really making any sort of progress forward. I think he might have taken advantage of the DSE, but a brush of the walls there, and just highlights his struggles out there at the moment. Because I would have probably expected him to break away from, obviously, Malik Khan for what is 10th place at the moment. But yeah, just hasn't really done so. And really struggling today. All went wrong for him in the sprint when he had that DNF. Obviously was leading. Tyler was looking good, at least for a podium. That 3 seconds, I'm sure, didn't help his cause. However, of course, you can't make excuses. Nonetheless, he did have that DNF, and it did cost him dearly. And you can see the consequences, even in this main race, that he's still paying for that incident and for that result. So Phil still holding on to third. Falcao's managed to get past Mini, and Mini now ahead of Mr. Formula One as Mini picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that obviously could be a bit of a hindrance, as Falcao's still looking like he's got good pace in the medium tyre, so he's coming at Phil quite rapidly, and I suspect actually might even be overtaking here on this lap and this time around. Let's see if he can. Got the DRS within the range, so it's going to be down into then, well, the end of this straight, and by the time we get to the braking zone is ahead, but Phil's going to come back at him on the exit. Does leave his rival a car's width. Phil trying the switch back, trying to just do everything he can to try and get back at then the Alpine, and unfortunately for Phil, the Alpine is through. So yeah, Falcao up then into the podium, and that, as I said, could be very crucial for his race. Now, if he can try and obviously pull away from Phil, this would be the ideal scenario, because I just feel at the moment, Phil, whilst he does have good pace today, probably he's a little bit off the pace compared to where Mini and obviously Falcao are, but he's hanged on very nicely this lap. Obviously those tyres will be at this stage a bit better, but let's see how he gets on then. It's a DRS for the Ferrari driver, active, and through the first few corners, closes really close up to then the, obviously the Alpine. That is actually starting to rain, because I've just got some raindrops on my camera here, so that's going to add a new dynamic into this race here then, with the rain now coming down. How wet does this track get? And it does look like it's pretty heavy rain, so I suspect it is going to get very wet now. And when do the drivers come in, and who can obviously adapt to the conditions better than the other? And that is something going to be very key, because now with it raining, you can see already they're sliding about, and that rain's coming down very heavy here actually in Singapore. So I think we're probably going to be already onto the enters within not even half a lap. So are we going to see the leaders come in? I suspect we will, if we are going to go on to the enters this lap. I suspect that we're going to see probably Tyler and Toby dart off into the pits. And are they struggling? They are looking like they are sliding a bit out there. So are we going to see these two in? DRS apparently now is disabled, and yes, both of them are into the pits, as we see the McLaren go slightly into the back of then Tyler. So Toby accidentally hitting then his, well, race rival at the moment. Both going to fit on inters, of course. Now, did that give Tyler a little bit of extra speed into the pits? And did he pick up any sort of penalty due to that? I don't think he did, because otherwise it would have came up probably on my screen. But both of them leave the pits in the same order. Falcao then obviously leads, then Phil behind. And a bit of a change in order then. So Benji Bucket managing to get a good jump on both on a lot of his drivers. Ahead of Mr. Formula 1 and Lewis, and Mini Platts down now to 8th. However, good news for this is obviously Fisher's up into 9th then here. Let's see how he can get on, and we've got another virtual safety car, actually. So that obviously means no overtaking for now. But yeah, it is raining very, very hard out there. I wouldn't be shocked potentially to see full wets at some point if it continues to rain like this. It looks like it's coming down in cats and buckets, or cats and dogs. You know, really, really wet it looks like it's becoming out there. So let's see how this race does develop if we do move towards a full wet race. And Beckson Boy still on the hard compound tyre. Now, he's definitely going to want to try and get back round to the pits as soon as possible, because, well, he's going to be very shortly a lap down if he doesn't. So, top 3, obviously, now look like this. Tyler first, followed by Toby, then it's Falcao in 3rd, then Phil 4th, then it is Benji Bucket in 5th. Let's see how then this battle then changes. Who's going to be better in these intermediate conditions, of course. That is going to be the interesting thing at stake here, and to see how it plays out. Does anyone have, obviously, a better car setup? I do wonder. Right now, Falcao's pulled away a little bit. He's broken that 1 second. Obviously, DRS. Obviously, no DRS though is enabled in these wet conditions. That should be stated. So that won't really matter anymore how the DRS plays out. What will matter is whether or not you can handle the wet conditions. And in this game, it is a bit different, the wet conditions, compared to usual. A lot of drivers aren't a big fan of the wet weather in this game. Some are, of course. However, Benji Bucket won't be, because he's just, well, has he fallen down? I'm not really sure what's going on. Looks like maybe a bit of lag, potentially. And not sure if that's obviously affecting others on the track. But yeah, didn't have any sort of wing damage. Just looked as if he parked and then suddenly got moving again. I did thought he went into the barrier, but clearly not. But that has obviously allowed Phil now a 1 second advantage over this train of cars. Poor Mini though must be a bit frustrated losing all those positions in that pit stop phase. And does obviously have a time penalty as well to be added on at the end of this race. So for Mini, must be a very frustrating race out there actually. Cannot help feel for him, but could be making up a position here, which will certainly maybe ease those frustrations a little bit. As he goes down the inside at turn 1, can he? He's certainly got a good opportunity converting it into turn 3. So Mini Platts into turn 3, takes then 6th place in the Grand Prix. And is Lewis going to follow the Haas driver through? Not quite just yet. But Mr. Formula 1 looks like he's struggling. And Mr. Formula 1, bit of lag there maybe. And he's going to be now passed by Lewis for what will be then 7th place, surely. He's going to have to be around the outside for the Red Bull. But I think he's still going to get it done. Going to have the inside for the next corner. They're still side by side. Now he's going to have to be back around the outside for Lewis in the next one. But in the end, I think Mr. Formula 1's just won that battle out. And he has. So Next car for Phil, for Mini to dispatch is going to be Benji Bucket then here. And of course, in the wet conditions, trying to make a pass is a lot more tougher. Certainly a different kind of challenge compared to what it would be in the dry. In the dry, you're mainly relying on probably, the DRS really, more than anything. But in the wet, you can kind of sort of try and, create a move that you probably couldn't do in other parts of the track when it's usually dry. Whereas in these wet conditions, you try and, manifest that move a little bit more and try to make something. Because in the end, it sort of, you become a bit more inconsistent, obviously, in the wet. I think that's the obvious thing to say. So, the more consistent you can be, as we're seeing here from Mini, who is starting to get onto the back of then Benji Bucket and about to overtake Benji Bucket. He's got the move done. Well, that was a beautiful move by, obviously, Mini to get that move done very early on down the straight. Pretty much as he basically took off out the corner, the move was done there. But that's what I mean. It's sort of like that sort of moves that you need to see from drivers. It's all about the exit of corners it becomes, or the entrance in terms of how you get in and out of the corner effectively, and whether or not you can do that consistently. So his next rival is going to be, obviously, Phil for 4th place. Phil, though, doesn't have a time penalty. Mini does. Benji Bucket right now. Then down to 6th. Lewis is in 7th. So watch the battle here between Lewis and Mr. Formula 1. Right now, gap out front, 2.8 seconds. Make it 2.9. So Toby loving these conditions. Clearly, Tyler isn't loving these conditions. So, yeah, turning into another dominant victory for Toby, who's won at least 2 of the last 2. He's won 3 of the Grand Prix so far he's turned up to in AER. And today, potentially, can make it 3 wins in a row and 4 wins out of 4 for himself that he's raced this season. 100%, attendance to win ratio at the moment for himself here in AER. Pretty sure he'll be happy to hear that statistic. So Lewis right now is currently in 7th, followed by Mr. Formula 1. Mr. Formula 1 goes a bit deep and outside of then the DRS. So how is everything looking then? Well, Mini Platts gaining obviously on Phil for what is 4th place. And Phil makes a bit of a big error, and that's going to really now put then Mini Platts onto the back of him. So I think Phil might have actually also picked up a bit of wing damage. So that might explain now his lack of pace out there. Yes, he has got obviously missing a front wing right end plate to his car. Now in the dry, it would most definitely affect him. Obviously in the wet, I'm not sure if that would make it obviously even worse. That damage potentially could. I imagine a pass will be coming pretty shortly for Mini, taking 4th away from then Phil. The question is, can Phil hold on 5th? I feel that's really where maybe Phil's looking at now, especially with the damage he's got. Mini closes up, but not close enough on this lap as of yet to be making the pass. However, he is going to have much better cornering speed, as you can just see. So where can he maybe get that pass done? Does he be a bit creative? Like I said, that's the thing. You know, with now that damage, obviously, versus a car with no damage in these conditions, this is probably the time for Mini to get just a little bit creative on field and to try and, you know, get that move sorted. Further behind, we do have Benji Bucket, who has been caught by Lewis now. Lewis looking like a good, well, looking in a good position here to maybe have a go also at Benji Bucket and the McLaren. Currently one McLaren leads the other McLaren in P6. So that's the current state of them two drivers. So we've got a good battle for then 5th and 4th, or 4th and 5th. A good battle also for 6th and 7th at the moment, developing out there. As Lewis now picks up 3-second time penalty. And that's probably a very key thing to stress for actually this race, is the time penalties. Phil so far hasn't got any, which I don't want to jinx it, but obviously that could be very, very key. So can Mini find a way through Phil on this lap? Bit of a slide out of that corner, and that's certainly going to delay the pass, but it does feel like it's coming. Mini is hounding right now the back of then Phil's car. As Phil takes a little bit of a defensive line into the next corner, just moves a little bit there. So certainly making his intent clear to Mini. If you're going to go past me, you're going to have to do it the hard way. And we've got a safety car. And I'll tell you what, that'd be a very big relief to Phil to some extent, actually. I don't know. Actually, I'm having to reconsider, is that a relief? Because, well, it's going to just allow the entire grid to put on new tyres and to, of course, put on new tyres and allow them to either catch up onto the back of them, or he's going to have to change his front wing and consider losing at least 3 positions. So I'm not really sure. Let's see what he does. He's not pitting. However, the two drivers behind, Benji Bucket and Lewis, are into the pits then here, as Fishers picks up a drive-through. So, yeah, his race just goes, well, his actual whole Grand Prix going from bad to worse. Now, are we going to see anyone put on the wets? That's what I'm looking for. And Lewis has gone for wets. Now, it does look like it's raining extremely hard. And I do feel that could be the right decision, actually, at this stage in the race. If it's going to continue to rain this hard, I do feel we are probably in wet territory. I don't think the intermediate is the right tire to be on. That's just my opinion. Obviously, the drivers out there will have a better idea and feel for the track, especially over myself. But I just feel the wet tyre could be the wrong tyre to be on, at least. That's just how I'm calling it at the moment. So Toby leads from now Phil in second, from Tyler in third, fourth then Mini, fifth is Falcao, sixth is Benji Bucket, seventh is Lewis, eighth is Formula 1, then it's Archie in ninth, and then Mr. Gray is in 10th. Unfortunately, Fishers won't finish this race in 11th, and it's Bexon Boy down in 13th. So that is your current pecking order at the moment. Then here for Phil, he does have that wing damage, which for Tyler, well, is going to be pretty easy pickings. to even frustrate any driver. That wing damage, especially some of the faster drivers, might not leave much room. So we're probably looking at another lap or two of safety car at the moment. So I suspect safety car might just come in this lap. If not, it'd be the next lap. Just really depends on when Bexenboy can catch up to the grid. The only good news is, for obviously Lewis, every single lap it rains like this, and every single lap under safety car, it does obviously probably help him in terms of with the potential to make this strategy and these wet tyres work, because you can see it is raining very, very hard, and of course with that rain coming down the way it is, the track is getting soaked, and well, safety car is going to be in then at the end of this lap. So a bit of a late call. Here we go then. So when does Tyler go? When does Toby go? So Toby's going to go now, and obviously catches a Ferrari nicely off guard. So here we go then, back under the racing green. And for Tyler, very crucial he gets past then the Ferrari as quickly as he possibly can then here, because that Ferrari with damage is certainly going to be a bit of a nuisance in obviously Tyler's way, given he's fighting for the race victory, whereas Phil probably just not at the moment. But here we go then. So immediately pretty much getting past. To move then on Phil, and Phil's down now to 4th. Let's see how then obviously, well, Mini and the rest of them all get on then here. Also, let's keep an eye out for Lewis. Lewis down actually, deciding to come in for Inters. Now, why did he do that? Because he did commit to the wets. I mean, okay, maybe the wet weren't the right time to be on, but if you're going to commit to the wet, I just feel that's a bit of a wasted strategy for himself, and yeah, a bit of a letdown for him. Nonetheless, there are cars significantly behind on fresher tyres. We've got obviously right now Falcao coming at these two, coming at both Mini and obviously coming at Phil very quickly. Bit of contact made between Mini and Phil, between Falcao and Phil then. Bit deep on the brakes from Falcao. Does he have wing damage? He might just have, but yeah, that's certainly a little bit of contact. I'm going to quickly go back to the Alpine man. He does have wing damage, so yeah, for obviously Falcao, how bad is that going to be for the rest of his race? He was in the hot seat, at least for a pretty comfortable podium. Doesn't look like it anymore. And I'm pretty sure for Mini, he'll be counting his lucky stars there because that, well, has to be 100% on Falcao. Cannot be on anyone else there with that dive down the inside. Yes, on the fresher tyre. Yes, obviously the quicker car, but you got to make the move cleanly. You can't do a dive bomb like that. However, nonetheless, he's got to live with that damage now, just like Phil's living with his. And we've got two cars right now on the podium fighting it out for this podium spot. Or, well, 4 or 5 cars at least now. Archie's in contention here, you'd have to say. So is Benji Bucket, so is Falcao. Thing is also, Falcao does have a penalty, so very important he does also clear these drivers quickly. Especially Mini and Phil, and then try and race off into the distance. So far, Phil and Mr. Formula 1, the only drivers so far in this race without penalties. Mr. Formula 1, though, has just picked up that, so make it now just Phil and Bexon Boy. Bexon Boy, though, I don't actually know if he's still racing. Is he still racing? I'm not entirely sure. He seems to be ghosted. Does seem like he's potentially racing, but obviously is over a lap or so down. So, yeah, for Bexon Boy, not great. Anyway, Falcao at it again on the brakes, trying to go down the inside of Mini. In the end, not quite making that move there. And for Mini, stays then, obviously, in 4th. However, this is helping out Phil very lovely in this race right now. The fact he's got, well, he's got obviously Mini tied up behind him. And he's got the rest of them all tied up behind him as well. Phil is actually looking, well, every lap that ticks away in a better spot and position for the podium. Also, his pace actually hasn't been that bad in comparison to the leaders. Obviously, the leaders have had an amazing pace regardless throughout this race, but his pace actually overall isn't that too far off the leader's pace so far. I imagine by the time all said and done, it'll probably be about 20, maybe 30 seconds off the eventual winner, but his pace isn't that bad, I don't think, at the moment. But for Mini, thing is, you know, there is a podium on the cards here for Mini. And his chance of getting through, well, surely he's now. So has a look to the outside. In the end, doesn't go for it. So Benji Bucket up the inside then on Falcao. Can he go around the outside? Not quite, no, but that's going to allow Archie a potential chance. Archie in the end also doesn't manage to go for it. However, Benji Bucket just lagged out there again. So holds on to 6th place. As we see now, Archie pushing Benji through the corners. But here goes then Falcao. Falcao's got a great opportunity then here. Can he get this move done around the outside? It's going to have to be. He's certainly going to go for it, and he's gone and got it. So Falcao up into then 4th place once more. A very clean move there to go around the outside. And next on the agenda for Falcao will be that podium. Now, obviously, Falcao does have the fresher tyre. Falcao, though, well, does also have a bit of a broken wing. For Falcao, it's the left side of his car. For, obviously, Phil, it's the right side of his car. Both wings look in pretty similar shape. But, of course, it is those differences, probably in tyres, which for then Falcao, probably going to make the difference. Let's see if he can get it immediately. Has a look to the inside. Not able to get through at the moment on this lap. And the track does appear to be drying, so the rain has eased off quite a substantial amount. And that's probably not going to help the drivers that elected to stay out there. For the drivers that did stay out, probably as it starts to dry, is going to feel the effects of their worn inters a little bit more. So for Phil and for obviously Mini in particular, and even Mr. Gray, probably going to feel very much the effects of those worn intermediates a lot more now in these drying conditions. Whereas obviously for Falcao, it's not going to be so much of a problem. Now, a little bit squeezed off track then there, but I think that was a fair move. Are we going to see Falcao take this one? I think we are. A little bit of contact maybe between them. Still Phil side by side. Phil holds on to the position just as we see Archie almost going into the barrier at the final corner. And this is going to allow now Mini a potential chance up the inside. Falcao makes contact with Mini, goes off the track, retains the position, a bit more contact than by Falcao, but surely Falcao probably has got to give that position back to the Haas driver, as we see now Archie move himself up into then obviously fifth, and it's all kicking off behind then Phil at the moment for this final podium spot. Right now though, Phil still ahead, somehow still is ahead of obviously all this group of cars. Benji Bucket in, well, 7th, still got a good chance himself of finishing in a great position too. So here we go then. Are we going to see round 2 of this fight then between Phil and obviously Falcao? Falcao right now is then in 4th, just behind. Question is though, should he have given the position back to obviously Mini Platts? I don't know. Potential argument for it, yes. A little bit of more contact between the Ferrari and the Alpine. For his hopes, I hope he hasn't damaged any more of that front wing. It's already broken as it is. As Phil goes really slow into some of these corners. And yeah, really struggling, I think Phil is, into some of them at least, on his tyres. But that's obviously affecting Falcao's braking points. And the trouble is, a little bit of contact like that, even though probably not malicious, you know, can just set the tone a little bit in terms of how you're racing with one another. Anyway, more damage. I don't know whether that was for the Williams of Archie behind. I think it might have been. So Phil defends inside line, and did he leave him the car's width there? I don't necessarily think Phil did. This battle between them all getting very ugly, and Mini is into the barriers. So yeah, Mini and Archie into the barriers then there. And yeah, this battle is getting a bit ugly then between them all, or between the top 3. Well, top 3, sorry. 4th down to 5th. Getting a bit, maybe a bit too much then here between them. DRS would maybe help if it got enabled at this point. So Phil defends the inside line from Falcao. Falcao almost dropping it on the exit into the barrier. Not quite though. So Falcao still in 4th. Meanwhile, back out front, it is Toby leading 4.5 seconds clear of then Tyler. And as I said, it is going to be closer to 30 seconds by the time they are finished. That's going to be the gap over Phil then, within the space of about 6 or 7 laps. Archie's out, unfortunately, of the race. Mini comes into the pits. Is this going to be for a set of the slicks? Maybe attempts a fast lap. Certainly going to be for a new front wing, that's for sure. Does he maybe attempt a new fastest lap? No, just going to stick on the inters. So probably still a bit too wet out there, actually. When I go on board, it looks dry. When I go off board, I can see just some puddles still, but it still even looks a bit dry, even for my liking, even here. So Phil's just managing to pull out a little bit of a gap now to obviously Falcao, which I'm sure for Phil is a bit of a relief. Has he survived the worst of the storm? If he has, might be certainly on for a podium finish here. Of course, pending any steward outcomes, because I suspect there probably will be some reports going in from this battle that we've seen. So, yeah, for sure, even if Falcao does get through, I imagine might be a few reports coming from Phil's way. I imagine might be a few reports even coming from Falcao's way, potentially. Who knows? And probably a few reports from a few other drivers, as, yeah, you can't really be doing that down the straight, I don't think, personally. What Phil did that seemed a bit reactionary, in my opinion, that move, which, of course, probably you don't want to be doing. Overall, making reactionary moves, you can't be blocking the driver. You can only make the one defensive move, and you've got to stick to it. This time, Phil's a little bit more disciplined in his attack and defence. As they go then, once again, down the inside. So Phil had the inside line fairly there, I would say. A little bit of contact though between the Ferrari and the Alpine once more. Of course, Phil's tyres 17 laps old versus Falcao's, who's only on 10 lap old tyres at the moment. And as I say, for Phil, probably is going to be feeling the raft now of those 17 lap old tyres, plus got the wing damage. Tell you who is in a good position here, Benji Bucket. I don't think, actually, because I think penalties could be coming for both Falcao's and Phil's way. Potentially, both of them I wouldn't put past getting a penalty each. As we now see Falcao making the position, but it is going to be probably a little bit late. This move surely would have had to come a few laps ago, as they both going to take each other out, and Falcao goes... not Falcao goes through, sorry. Benji Bucket goes through. Phil resets to track. Falcao then carries on. And, yeah, that in the end surely was coming for a long, long time. Then you could just see it happening. Just like before, you could see it. And Benji Bucket, I'll tell you what, deserves a podium out of this. He's driven a great race, Benji Bucket has, and if he finishes on the podium, I know, yes, you could say hard luck on Phil, but if anyone deserves a podium out of that battle, I think it's Benji Bucket. Well done to Benji on finding a way through. And, of course, well, he's easily going to be into the lead then there, but... yeah, that incident definitely... I'm not sure. I don't know which way to call that one, because there was contact on the entry into the penultimate, or one of the penultimate chicanes, between Falcao and Phil. Then, of course, Phil went off the track, came back on, and into the wall they went. And, yeah, in the end, not really sure which way to say that one would have been. But it's not for me to judge. Obviously, that'll be down to the stewards. I no doubt later foresee that one going to. But for Tyler, it is... for Tyler, for Toby. Getting your name wrong once again. For Toby, it is going to be 3 wins on the bounce. No matter what's gone on behind him, all the chaos, all the drama, it is going to be a 3rd successive win then, and yeah, again, once again, dominant style, no problems. Tyler does have also 6 seconds of penalties, a 3-second further penalty is over Toby. It's Toby sliding around, maybe for a bit of fun, not sure. Might be also struggling on the tyres, who knows. But nonetheless, so Falcao is in, but we'll see how that one goes later on. If he can remain or get back ahead of those on Inters, he's going to be very quick on this final lap of Grand Prix, I would have thought, given it's now bone dry. But not sure if he'll be able to get back past, obviously, Formula 1 and obviously Mini. But here then is Toby, 3 out of 3, and it's 4 out of 4 for himself as he spins across the line in spectacular fashion. Tyler comes home in a great P2, but it is Benji Bucket who is going to take home a well-earned podium finish. A good result for himself. And well done to then Benji on the podium. Bit of wing damage actually. Not sure where he picked it up. He didn't have that wing damage, I don't believe, before. Now, I believe he's going to take home the podium. At least. He's got 6 seconds, so yeah, it should be fine. So well done to Benji Bucket on the podium. It is going to be Phil coming home in 4th, despite, obviously, his woes then there. So very good result from him. And mention also no penalties. Of course, not sure whether that will remain the case after the stewards' investigations, but we'll have to wait and see what goes on there. In terms of Mr. Formula 1, comes across the line now and is going to cross the line in then 5th. Oh no, it is going to be, sorry, Falcao in then 5th. Mini 6th. 7th then, Mr. Formula 1. Mr. Grey is in 8th, and then obviously Bexon Boy is a number of laps down then. So a decent race. Hope you've obviously enjoyed it. The race we've brought to you today. Plenty of drama, plenty of action, and I'm sure plenty of stewards' inquiries to follow this one. Obviously, do make sure you subscribe, leave a like, and come back for more next week, hopefully. So, Toby, a 3rd successive win, and is that 3 different teams or 4 different teams who's probably win now for this season, collecting those wins? Very well done indeed to him. So, spraying the champagne between the top 3, and yeah, that's a good podium, have to be admitted. So, well done to them 3. So, I'll go through the final finishing order then here now. So, it is Toby in 1st, followed by Tyler in 2nd. Benji Bucket 3rd, 4th Phil, 5th Falcao, 6th is Mini Platts. 7th we have Mr. Formula 1, followed by 8th, and 9th is Mr. Grey and Bexon Boy as the final finishers for today. Not finishing, unfortunately, this race, we have Archie, Lewis, Fishers, and Malikan. Kurt Maestro and Mr. F1 Cinders down in 15th. So, thank you for watching. See you all next week for another Formula 1 Grand Prix.